If you're trying a sleep train and it's not working, I need you to hear this. It is not proof that you picked the wrong method or that your baby is too stubborn. It is usually proof that something hidden is quietly canceling out your effort. And I know that sounds annoying because you are already tired and you did not sign up for a mystery novel at 2 a.m. But once you know what to look for, this gets so much simpler. Hi, I'm Treasure, and I help overwhelmed working parents get out of the guesswork spiral with calm, evidence-based sleep support that fits real life. Let's start with the most relieving truth. A method is not magic. It is just a way of responding consistently while your baby practices a new pattern. So if you are being consistent and still seeing chaos, you are not failing. You are dealing with one of the common hidden blockers that makes parents feel like they are doing everything right and getting punished anyway. There are a few common patterns that create this exact problem. One of the biggest hidden reasons sleep training fails is actually timing, not motivation, not willpower, timing. Here's what I mean in real life. If your baby is truly overtired, their body can fight sleep like it is a personal insult. And if your baby is undertired, their body is like, cool, thanks for the bedtime routine. I will now do my own networking event in the crib. Both of those look like sleep training not working, but neither one is fixed by changing your method. Now let's talk about what helps, starting tonight. Look at what happens around bedtime and the first part of the night because it tells you which direction you are dealing with. If bedtime is a full-blown wrestling match and your baby is melting down, that is often overtired. If bedtime is playful, chatty, or takes forever with very little fussing, that can be undertired. Same with split nights where they are awake and ready to party for a long stretch. So the smallest change that makes the biggest difference is to protect sleep pressure without trying to redesign your whole life. Pick one solid, realistic wake time to start your day. Then treat bedtime like an anchor, not a floating suggestion that drifts an hour later because daycare napped late or dinner ran long. Consistency is not about being rigid. It is about helping your baby's body know what to expect. If you cannot control naps because daycare is doing daycare things, that is normal. You can still stabilize nights by adjusting bedtime gently, using a short wind down, and making sure your baby is not asking their nervous system to do a marathon when they are already exhausted. By the way, download my free guide, The Modern Parent Sleep Roadmap, the guide I wish I had at 2 a.m, and the link is in the video description and on the screen. Okay, let's move to the second hidden reason that catches so many smart, motivated parents. Inconsistency that looks like consistency. And I am not saying this to shame you. I am saying this because this is how real life works, especially when you are working, you are solo parenting, or you and your partner are tag teaming sleep while both of you are running on fumes. Here's what's actually going on under the surface. Your baby learns patterns through repetition, yes, but they also learn patterns through randomness. If the response changes from night to night or caregiver to caregiver, your baby's brain starts treating the wake up like a slot machine. Sometimes the lever gets cuddle, sometimes it gets a feed, sometimes it gets rocking, sometimes it gets a check-in, sometimes it gets nothing. And a slot machine is incredibly motivating. This is why a baby can cry harder on night 4 than night 1. It is not because they are getting worse, it is because the pattern has become unpredictable. Let me show you the smallest changes that make the biggest difference. Decide what the response is going to be for bedtime and decide what the response is going to be for overnight wakes, and keep those two things aligned. If you are doing this with a partner, the most important conversation is not, are we doing sleep training? It is, are we responding the same way? If you are doing this alone, you are not supposed to have superhero consistency. You are supposed to have a plan that you can actually execute when you are exhausted. So make the plan simpler, not stricter. Fewer moving parts, fewer exceptions, fewer moments where you have to decide in the dark with a racing heart. We're talking about. And yes, you can still comfort your baby. Comfort is not the enemy. What changes is how the comfort is delivered. Calm, steady, predictable comfort helps. Panicked, experimental comfort teaches your baby that wake-ups are a negotiation. Now there is one more hidden reason that shows up constantly, and it is the sneakiest because it feels like you are doing the gentle thing. It is when sleep training is happening at bedtime, but the sleep onset support is still doing most of the work. In other words, your baby is not actually practicing falling asleep with the same conditions they will have at 2 in the morning. Here's what that looks like. The bedtime routine ends with feeding until drowsy, or rocking until heavy-eyed, or bouncing until the body finally gives up. Then baby wakes between cycles later and they are confused because the world changed. The same way you would be confused if you fell asleep in your bed and woke up on the couch with someone else holding your phone. That is not your baby being dramatic. That is your baby noticing a mismatch. This is where parents tell me, but I put them down awake. And yes, technically they were awake, but if they are only able to cross the finish line with your body doing the heavy lifting, then your baby is still relying on that support to restart sleep later. There is a gentle way to shift this without going from 0 to 100. Move any feeding earlier in the routine so it is not the final step into sleep. If rocking or bouncing is part of the routine, keep the comfort but reduce the intensity over time so your baby gets more practice doing the last part themselves. And pay attention to your baby's sensory world, because this is where neurodivergent or sensory sensitive babies can need a slightly different approach, not because something is wrong with them, but because their nervous system processes input differently. Some babies need the room to feel more predictable. Darkness, steady white noise, comfortable temperature, and a routine that helps their body settle. Some babies need more time to downshift before you ask them to fall asleep. If your baby gets hyper at bedtime, it is not always bad behavior. Sometimes it is the nervous system trying to regulate. So you do not have to get harsher, you have to get clearer. And this is the part most parents are never told. Your method is only as effective as the conditions around it. If timing is off, sleep pressure is off. If responses are unpredictable, learning gets messy. If sleep onset is being outsourced to a helper, wake-ups keep demanding the helper. And when you fix the hidden reason, the same method you have been using suddenly starts working. Now let's talk about when I would stop guessing and get extra support. If your baby's sleep suddenly falls apart with signs of illness, if they seem in pain, if there is frequent vomiting, poor weight gain, chronic congestion, loud snoring, pauses in breathing, or you are seeing ear pulling and intense new night waking, check in with your pediatrician. Sleep training should not feel like you are overriding a medical issue. You should feel like you are teaching a skill inside a healthy body. And if you have been consistent for about a week, you have addressed timing, you have cleaned up the mixed signals, and you still feel stuck in the same loop, that is not a character flaw. That is usually a personalization problem. Right here is where I can make this easier. If you want a plan tailored to your baby and your real schedule, I have a master's in social work, I'm a certified pediatric sleep consultant, and I'm the CEO of Rested and Renewed Pediatric Sleep Consulting. You can book a consultation and I will help you spot the exact hidden blocker in your situation so you stop throwing energy at changes that do not move the needle. And if you are not ready to book, start with my free Modern Parent Sleep Roadmap. Now, let's close the loop with one practical mindset shift that instantly lowers your stress. Sleep training is not something you do to your baby, it is something you repeat consistently so your baby can learn what happens next. So when a night goes sideways, you do not need a brand new plan. You need to return to the plan you already chose with calm consistency and with the hidden reason removed. You are not failing, you are exhausted, and you have been trying to solve a puzzle without seeing the whole picture. If this helped you feel clearer about why things have not clicked yet, the next video is going to help you stop second guessing every wake up and finally feel confident about what to do in the moment. Tap the screen to watch my next video.
Before you go, download Treasure's free guide, hit subscribe, and watch the next one. You'll be so glad you did.